Hello, K-Man and Mark here with a box from Japan containing a computer that is pretty specky for a late 80s computer. Well, I'm pretty keen to see what sort of state it's arrived in, so let's get into it. We have a box of 5 1/4 inch floppies, which, you'll find out why soon. We also have this Capcom box. It's a game called Strider. The cover is looking pretty good, as do the screenshots. This is a computer that does put out some pretty sweet arcade quality graphics for very good reasons. And the games come on a floppy disk. We also have a manual booklet which has a lot of details and pictures and things about playing the game and all that, if only I could actually read it. And even though I can't read it, I'm going to take a wild guess that this warranty certificate is out of date. Which leaves us with the last and least easiest item to get out of the box. Fortunately, it does have this carry handle which you just sort of press down and it normally pops up, so yeah, there's something to fix. Even though it does have the handle, you wouldn't want to be holding it for too long as it does weigh 10 kilograms, so let's put it down to have a closer look. It is a very sleek looking design though, something I can almost imagine someone making today. The Sharp CZ-602C-BK PC X68000, where even the floppy drives look pretty modern. I reckon you wouldn't notice it was a late 80s computer until you saw the ports down the bottom here, and even the volume control is probably not something that you see often on a modern computer, which controls the speaker which sits in there. We have a 9-pin port for the joystick, a headphone port on the front, and sweet mechanical buttons for the eject mechanism of the floppy drives. The various status lights and a sticker for something called New Life People, and the model of the computer. There's the system reset button and the interrupt button, which is used by programmers. Not too surprisingly, the top is a little bit dusty, so we'll get to that later. The power cord is hardwired into the back of the computer and is using a Japanese plug. It's also using 100 volts, so it's going to have to use a step-down converter to work on the Australian power. Your second player's joystick plugs into the back and has this cool little cover that is missing on a few of the other ports, but hey, we could go and 3D print a few more. This looks like a standard SCSI port for plugging in stuff like hard drives and CD-ROMs, but it's actually another standard cord SASE, which is still compatible with SCSI. Next to it is the external floppy drive port, which is looking a bit crusty. It's got a hard power switch, which would also switch off the power for whatever monitor you plugged into there. We've got a very crusty looking serial port and an audio in and out. Analog RGB out should be able to be plugged into a VGA monitor if we have the right adapter. The image in port and the see-through color are for an optional Genlock sort of unit called the color display unit, so you can go put overlays on top of your videos. TV control controls the TV tuner inside the X68000's monitor. And on the subject of ports, I didn't expect to see this stereoscopic port for plugging into 3D glasses. Moving on up behind this cap is the printer port, which you can probably guess what it's for. And above the printer port is a port for plugging in the remote control's infrared receiver. We also have at least one expansion card, and it's a MIDI card, so we can plug it into something like a Roland Sound Canvas or Yamaha and get some sweet music. You can also put in a second expansion card, and you know what, I'm kind of curious to see what is inside of the machine and what kind of state it's in, so let's go and open it up. And to get inside of the X68000, you have a screw up there, there's another screw there, and one down below. As well as the screws holding it in, you do have 3 tabs just down the front side of the case, which we use the spudger to go and unclip. And then once they're done, all you have to do is just pull off the side of the case nice and carefully. This computer has space for a hard drive there, so we'll probably get some sort of SCSI drive replacement for it. We also have the power supply and fan, And then right below the space for the hard drive is the two floppy drives. a spare power cable for your hard drive, and these floppy cables are pretty much exactly the same as what you would find in an old PC. Behind this bracket in the hard drive bay is the speaker, which really ain't as large and luxurious as I imagined it to be. Since it's looking quite dusty in here and does look like someone has spilt something on this machine, let's start cleaning it, starting with a good hard blow with this insanely powerful blowing machine. And we also need to get into the other side to clean it, and who knows, maybe we might even have that really cool RAM expansion. It's just 2 screws to get into the expansion bay, and the answer is no. Nope, nothing in there. And you know what, we might as well have a closer look at the other expansion card that we do have, the MIDI card, which just slides out. On a quick glance, it's looking pretty good, and the most obvious thing being the rust on these ports, which we can clean off, but otherwise okay. If you want to see a cool video about this card, I'm sure we'll make one day, but for now go check out RMC's video where he tried the MIDI card with a few different MIDI synthesizer devices. Time to look deeper into the other side of the case, and yes, it's those screws on the back and a spudger or 2 as we needed for this side. And eventually you should be able to carefully take off that side of the case. Ugh, and there's more of that gross stuff. It kind of looks like maybe soft drink was spilt into this machine. And yeah, that looks extra gross. I'm sure someone out there is cringing that we're touching this with our bare hands. It's even got into the buttons and all the way down to the bottom of the machine with various bits of dust. And yeah, okay, let's go and give it a bit of a blow. And the middle bit also needed a bit of a blowout as well, and we then got a bit trendy and creative and started flossing away. And yeah, it's better. There were plenty more places where the window cleaner and the cloth put in some good work, and yeah, check that out. We even got out the old toothbrush, so yeah, got to remember not to use that again. And everything is looking at least less gross than it used to. Cool, well, we won't go pulling too much off this time around, but we will take off that power supply because that looks like an easy thing to put back. And behind it, yeah, it's not looking too bad. I don't think we're going to be seeing the inside of that side of the case anytime soon with that rusted screw there, but the grossness did get to me and I busted out the sandpaper to get off that rust and grime, and yeah, it's much smoother now at least. I'm going to try sandpapering the rust off the ports, and I feel like I'm getting more success here, so going to be interesting to see how much of the rust has stayed away after a few weeks' time, and you know, we might need a bit of treatment. With nothing looking too horrific on that inspection and a little bit of cleaning done, we'll put the case back together again for next time when we go deeper and go check out the electronics of this machine. Hopefully it's all looking pretty good and functional inside, but either way, if there is a bit of repair work, that's all part of the fun, and I'm looking forward to when we can go plug this in and yeah, play some games on it. If you got a game that you recommend us to play on this machine, I'd love to hear about that and anything else you'd like to share about the X68000. Stay tuned for more videos about this computer and a variety of other stuff, and most of all, thanks for watching.